When a dismissive avoidant gaslights you. Okay, well, this is a real sore point for most people, and they believe that a dismissive avoidant is very capable of gaslighting. The thing is, it's a misperception, and stick with me here while I explain why. A narcissist will be very conscious of the fact that they are dismissing reality to undermine your thoughts and cause you to second guess your own reality and then get that coercive control over you. So if you're unsure, then they can be assertive and tell you lies. That's their way of creating a control over you. Whereas a dismissive avoidant appears to do that too. But only when they feel so close to their emotional cap, which is much less than ours. When they're pushed and they've been vulnerable and they've had something happen in their life, they're very close to it, or maybe they've even pushed beyond it. Their reference to reality changes. Their perception of things, it misses huge points of things that we would reference as being very, very obvious to us. The thing is also, if you're connected with a dismissive avoidant, very likely you have an anxious wound. Your anxious preoccupation as an empath, you've developed at a young age the ability to absolutely study another person's needs and everything about them. And we tend to presume that everyone can do that, but they can't. So we expect our dismissive avoidant partner to have this amazing superhuman skill that we have, and when they're reaching their cap, it becomes even worse, that they can't see obvious things, and they'll swear and declare that various things did not happen. Boy, does that seem like gaslighting. But the reality is that only ever happens when they've gotten to their cap or beyond, and they're still trying to show up for you, or they're trying to create space and you're chasing after them. The answer to this is observing. When they're getting close to that cap, you can see their behavior and giving space for it, telling them, hey, I can tell you're absolutely stretched right now. I would like you to just go and take some time for yourself. I'm going to go and do something on my own. Obviously, that serves a couple of things. It's good for us to spend time by ourselves. It kind of helps us process our own childhood wounds when we're not distracted by someone else. In that space for ourselves, then we can be introspective and begin to observe what's going on within us. It feels like we need our dismissive avoidant partner to show up when it's actually us that needs to show up for ourselves. Now, back to the dismissive avoidant who's pulled away and wants to create that space for themselves and to re-regulate and then come back, but we're chasing after them. No, come back, I need you. That feeling of entrapment for them even pushes them even deeper. And then is the point where they might start to get snarky, nasty, and angry with you. And suddenly everything just seems to add up to narcissist. Whereas the reality is they just need to regulate. Give them that space. They are not narcissists. Ordinarily, they absolutely absorb all responsibility for everything that's wrong with them and wrong with you. But when they're beyond their limit, when they are no longer registering any emotional response within themselves that's actually natural to them, they've disassociated. They can remember that they care about you, but they cannot connect to the emotion that they care about you. And you've pushed them hard enough, they're going to act on the fact that they don't care. Because where they're at in that moment, they don't. Not because they inherently and in the deepest part of themselves don't care, but because they're detached from the emotion. As a childhood pattern of safety they've formed whilst in an abusive situation, they've learned how to disassociate so the abuse doesn't cause them literal brain damage. And then as a child, we recognize that served them. In a relationship as an adult, it doesn't. But the pattern's still there. The good news, one, we recognize, no, they're not narcissists. No, they're not actually intending on gaslighting. They're just missing huge chunks of factual information because they're so unable to connect with the present. They can't connect with their own bodies. They can't connect with what's going on around them. So yes, they'll miss major details. The good news, if we recognize the reality and give them that space, they will re-regulate and come back when they're ready. Don't rush them. It's like trying to tell someone to grow a third leg just because you want them to. It can't be done. They'll come back when they're ready. And more good news, recent discoveries and developments in the way that we treat a dismissive avoidant in regard to their childhood wounds has changed quite significantly. And most dismissives have no clue about this. Nervous system regulation comes before anything, because as soon as they begin to engage in childhood wounds, to release those held emotions that are holding absolutely everything in their nervous system a hostage, well, they can't engage in them because immediately that puts them into shutdown. So first, nervous system regulation through various means that are now becoming more mainstream and understood to be necessary for those who have a very low emotional cap. So let's just hold space for a moment and recognize these people. They're not narcissists. They're not gaslighting. They're just trying to keep themselves below their emotional cap so they can keep to show up for themselves and stay present. Let them do that. Now, instead of telling them, hey, there's new things you can do for yourself, show them the example of healing by tending to yourself. Because they've come to a belief over their entire lives that it's not possible to heal, that they're defective, that this is something they just have to come to terms with. It's part of who they are. But when they see you change, become more self-assured, become more independent, something registers in them. Oh, this is a fork in the road. I can either acknowledge the possibility that I can heal too, or it becomes too abhorrent to me and I have to walk away. This is your filter. Watch. You will not know until you create that law of attraction. Instead of telling them what to do, show them. Become that healed, self-assured version of yourself, and then you're going to know what kind of person you're with depending on their response. If they're drawn to you and want to grow with you, then hang on. You're in for a fun ride. Might say fun, it's going to be tricky. But nonetheless, you're seeing the needle move, you're seeing growth, you're seeing progress. It's wonderful. And us as empaths will generally stay very loyal to someone who's growing and hold space for things going wrong, getting it wrong until eventually you get it right. 9/10 of getting it right is getting it wrong. But if they don't, and they refuse, it's time to make a tough choice. Because being honorable to yourself is the priority here. And unless you're seeing that growth walking towards you and acknowledging the possibility of growth, they will be an anchor to your own progress. Let's hope that you growing and healing yourself will be that attractive thing for them to come to you and say, all right, how'd you do that? And you can engage together in these new techniques for nervous system regulation for them to deal with their childhood wounds. If you need more information about how all of this happens for yourself, for your dismissive avoidant partner, reach out. This is my passion. I love you guys. The fearful avoidance, the anxious preoccupied and dismissive avoidance, anyone with an anxious predisposition and an insecure attachment style, you all have superpowers of your own. Things that normal, secure people that grew up with a very healthy relationship will never have. And once you're healed, you are the people that make the world go round. And you make my wheels spin too. So reach out, let's have a conversation.